welcome to Revsportz. We have a full house today. I am Gargi Raut and joining me today is Trisha Ghoshal, Ishan Shahane, Bharat Ramraj and Snehashish Mukherjee. And we're going to be talking about Indian women's team's strengths and weaknesses ahead of the World Cup. Let's start with you, Trisha. What do you think? Let's get right to it. Let's not even,
Let's. But I think
let's
we'll get
just get
started
right
off
to
with
it.
Trisha
Yeah.
itself, because I think she's the expert in this domain, complete expert.
What is the biggest
Let's
strength
start
for
with the
India?
positive. Let's start with the positives. I think Smriti has been in fantastic form this year. So that's a huge positive for us going in. Hoping Jemima can carry the aggression that she has got, because she has been doing very well. And apart from that, I think, in bowling, of course, Pooja Vastrakar.
Huh.
And all round, I would say Deepti, because Deepti recently her batting has improved miles. Her T20, I mean, had no doubt on her one-day batting, but her T20 batting has improved miles. I think that for me would be strengths. Pooja's bowling, yes, but again, I'm a little doubtful about Pooja's bowling in Dubai conditions, in UAE conditions.
At the same time, I feel the paces are really solid, but from what I've noticed in the last 1 year, that at times they can be a little inconsistent as well. So in my opinion, I feel that this can be a weakness because, if you're not going to be consistent enough and if you might leak runs, so if you bowl a couple of good overs, but the third or the fourth is a horrible one, then, that whole 4 overs of yours is completely destroyed. So I think consistency is one factor I feel. I'm not sure, but have you noticed that from what you've seen? At times they might lack that, sense of consistency.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly what I was getting at. That, recently Harman has been doing this, that, she bowls out Pooja. Like if Pooja is bowling a good spell, she continues and finishes the 4 overs. I think that's the consistency reason that you're talking about, Pooja is generally not good when she comes back for her second spell. So, but that again, that we are going into negatives, which we can talk about later. I think for me, yes, I think the biggest strength is some of the big names are in form. Because we all know, Smriti will be extremely important right at the top of the order.
Yeah.
Finisher, Deepti, doing superbly
Shefali
well.
Verma on top of the order as well. I think if she gets going, then you can't stop someone like her.
Exactly.
I've seen her play a couple of innings when I was covering, all the women cricket. Unfortunately, she didn't have the best run there, but whenever she looked good, it seemed like she could just take the game away from any team. So I think Shefali Verma, you can't write her off. And she's again one of those players who have that sort of intention and aggression where you want to perform. Like some players just have it. I think with her, you can just figure out that she wants to really perform, and if she gets going, I think she'll be unstoppable. So I think a strong top order as well is what I feel.
Yeah. And
on paper. On paper, yes.
Yes. On paper. On the field, we don't know what's going to happen, but on paper.
Yeah. Let's go to the rest. Other three players. The positives that you guys see.
I was asking Snehashish, he covers women's cricket throughout the year and he's our stat man. He always gives us incredible stats. Who do you think, off the top of your head, who do you think is the strongest link for India at the moment?
I think Shriti Mandana is India's best player in terms of stats or in terms of form maybe, but I think the only X factor that India have is Richa Ghosh. I think Richa Ghosh is your only power hitter, and she can be one of the key player for India's success in the upcoming World Cup. I think she has a huge role to play, because we have seen in the last 1 year, whether it is T20, whether it is ODI, if you use her in a good position, if you use her in a well-mannered way, I think then she can be your match winner. I think that's a way. And I think Shefali Verma, the main issue is the consistency. We know how destructive she can be at the top of the order, and we all know that in T20s or in any form, in ODIs also, when it comes to the power play overs, you have to utilize those overs very carefully, especially while you're batting. You have to score as many as soon as possible. So I think Shefali Verma can be one of the top players to watch out for India, but for that she needs to be consistent. You cannot score one day 40 or 50 quick runs and then the next 3-4 matches just 10-15 runs. So that will not help your team at all. So I think she has to be very consistent, and that's how India might get help from her.
And Gagi, just to add to that, like how Snehashi mentioned that using a attractive player like Richa Ghosh up the order is very important because, when we were talking about the IPL as well, if we just go back to the IPL, all of us were saying that Rinku Singh should have batted up the order. KKR ended up winning that IPL, but a lot of things could have also gone wrong. And, this could have been a question that why wasn't Rinku pushed up the order? So we don't want that sort of scenario. If you have someone who can play those shots, try to get them as early in the game because this might help them settle down as well, and then they can, elevate the whole innings and play the shots. So a valid point by Snehashi there.
Yeah, Bharat, over to you now.
Yeah, I guess someone like the Deepti Sharma is a very good player. She's been averaging around 100 in WPL, and then also if you look at her performance in the 100, she averaged about 212. Her strike rate was 136 in the WPL. Her strike rate was about 132. I think she's improved her game through the offside. If I look at her wagon wheel, there was a time when she was looking to slog, clear the front leg, looking to slog across the line. But I watched some of her matches for London Spirit in the 100, and definitely her wagon wheel has improved. She's played more shots through the offside. I feel she could be a little bit of dark horse in sense with her batting. I know her bowling is extremely good, but with regard to her batting, she might surprise if you haven't watched her in the 100 or who haven't watched much of the WPL. Another one to look out for, I'm looking at dark horses. Someone like Shobana, if she gets a game or two, she could be a little bit of dark horse. I like her style of bowling in T20 cricket. She might prove to be quite useful.
Yes.
What's interesting is the fact that none of us have a solid answer for this. When we talk about the strongest link for the Indian cricket team, we don't have a solid answer as in this player is in tremendous form or this player is taking incredible wickets. There's not really one player or one or two players who are doing incredibly well. It's just that everyone is sort of, contributing here and there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm not saying this in a positive or a negative way. It's just an observation.
Yeah, I think that's happening because of what Ishan said, the consistency factor. I think the biggest problem with all Indian players is you can't say that they're consistent. Whether it's Shafali Verma, whether it's Smriti Mandana, look at the big names. I mean, be it Harmanpreet Kaur, the captain herself, be it even Richa.
Yes.
Richa plays fantastically well in one innings, and then she's not there for two other innings. You can't really place your bet on any of them completely. Even Renuka, unless this is, I think, a bit of a complaint against her or whatever, that unless there's something in the wicket, Renuka just looks absolutely flat. And I'm not 100% sure how much help will Renuka get. And if Renuka does not get any help, then probably will Arundhati play ahead of her, because Pooja definitely is going to be in there because of...
And to add to that, Trisha, I feel, I don't know if you've noticed this as well, but there's been an over dependency on the top order, I feel. The first three batters. So I've gone for a lot of matches, and what I noticed was if the top 3 or 4 didn't perform, that batting lineup tends to collapse from what I've seen, at least in the games that I've gone, the most of those games actually. So
that's the reason teams like England and Australia win more matches than teams like us, because it's not about top 3, top 4. All 11 can bat, all 11 can be productive, and all 11 can perform on a given day. I think apart from consistency, what Bharat said, I completely agree with it, that Asha Shobna is one spinner that could be the X factor. But Bharat, the problem is Harman has not backed her. Harman has not played her in Bangladesh conditions. She has been there in the team, and now she has not played so many matches. Yeah, so you lose momentum, you lose the confidence because you don't get backing. Right, Snehashish, Bharat, both.
Yeah, I agree to that. The one thing I would add is India, somehow they tend to back whatever games I've seen. Radha Yadav as well over a period of time. But Asha Shobna, the way she bowls, whenever I watched her a couple of matches, maybe 3-4 months ago, she looked like a bowler who could get you wickets in one's T20 eyes. Batters will go after her. She has a nice low. She has recent variations, so I think she can come into the equation. But one more spot I wanted to add, the batting position, that is, it is a number 3 batting position. Obviously, in the Asia Cup, I was designated to cover that tournament. What I was seeing was they tried Uma as well. Obviously, she's not in this squad, but they tried her. They tried Hemalata as well. Yeah, Hemalata is a good player. I remember her scoring a 50 last year when she was playing against spinners who bowled slower through the air. She was using her feet. She was picking the length well. But overall, I'm not too sure she's a number 3 bat. But somehow India don't want Jemima at that particular slot. Astika Bhatt has come back into the squad after suffering that knee injury, and she did better in the WPL, scoring 202 runs or whatever, 204 runs, at an average of 25. Comparatively, in terms of relative terms, compared to her other performances in T20 as for India, she did better. But the number 3 slot is I think, a little bit of weakness for me because India keep changing players. They don't exactly want Jamima at that particular slot based on what I saw in the Asia Cup.
Totally, and I want
at number 3, you would go for Jemima or Hemalata. I know my answer for sure, but the ball is in first Snehashish and then Gargi's court.
See, personally, I would love to see Jemima Rodriguez at number 3 because the style of batting she has, I think it is perfect for number 3. If a wicket falls, under 3-4 overs, she can come and take some time, and then she has that game to improve her strike rate and go for big shots at the end. But the problem is the numbers showing different things. At number 3, she has an average of 30.44. But at number 5, she has an average of 46.50. So it's contrasting, because if you see the games, you will see that at number 5 she is not.
This is why the stat man is so important. None of us knew this.
Wow. That's why I love stats. I keep telling that.
It is very surprising because if you see the games, if you will be like that, we are not getting that much of impact from her what we used to have at number 3. But if you go for the stats, you will get, wow, she is doing brilliant at number 5. So it's very confusing.
Snehashish, how many
volume between the two samples will be different.
See, at number 5, she's been batting recently. So it's like 10 innings. But at number 3, she has been batted most of the times in her career. It's 59 innings. Yeah, but
there is a big difference.
But still, in 10 innings, having an average of 46.5 is a good number.
But do you think she's more suited at a number 5 than Snehashish?
Personally, I think what is the capability of her and what the style of her batting, I think it is best suited for number 3.
All right. I wanted to ask a question before we headed to weaknesses, but we have to talk a lot still, so we'll not ask that question and we'll move on to weaknesses. But
Gargi, we don't want you to go home with questions in your mind, please.
Okay, I'll ask it in a weakness sort of way. Do you think the Indian cricket team, anyone can answer this, do you think the Indian cricket team is not aggressive enough still when it comes to scoring runs, when it comes to taking wickets?
Well, to be honest, Gargi, I think the top order is pretty aggressive from, Shafali Verma and Mandana, and even the pacers, even Pooja Vastrikar, from what I've seen of her, she runs in hard and she's pretty aggressive in that sense. But maybe if you I think so, I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. That intensity from the rest of them might be lacking, and this is why we only speak about a certain few. So I think if they all come together as a collective group, maybe that might come off in a different way. But Trisha, do you think I'm right that only a few of them really have that spark? Because it's noticeable in some players for sure, and the rest maybe not so much.
I think again, the problem is with people like Shafali, Richa, they only know one way to play, and with the others like I don't know, like Harman or a Deepti, again that has changed recently, but they'll take time. First 10 balls, they'll take time. It's a very
silent aggression.
It's extreme.
Yeah.
Like for example, there are times when you would want Shafali to watch the ball for 2-3 deliveries and then go for her shots. And probably Richa also, you want that. And I think one of the reasons Amol Mazumdar had promoted her to number 3, that, because she has a range of shots. If she could, get in the other, add in the other part to the game. I don't come from that thought process where T20 is all about just watch the ball, hit the ball. Because if that happened, then Virat Kohli innings wouldn't have won us the World Cup. The Henrik Larsson innings would have won South Africa the World Cup. You still have to be mindful. So I think Jemima is the perfect player, if you honestly ask me. I think that is a really good example of how to approach an innings. But I think more than batting, our fielding and bowling, there's a lot to desire for when it comes to aggression and field placings as well.
Yeah. Bharat, Snehashish, on to you guys. You can answer that question if you like, but also speak about what you think are the biggest weaknesses in the Indian squad right now.
Obviously, weaknesses we already talked about. One thing is fielding. I think fielding is one of India's biggest weaknesses for me. Even in the final, I was watching. They dropped a couple of easy catches. Harmanpreet Kaur herself dropped an important catch, which allowed Harshini to continue batting. And that was a very important phase of that game. I was thinking maybe India slightly coming back into that match. Chamari had got out if that catch was taken. It was a sitter and she dropped it. Another thing that I didn't exactly like about Harmanpreet in at least that match was when others were misfielding. Okay, there were a couple of misfields, agree. That fielding wasn't great, won by others, but she kept shouting at them, and then she could have set an example by taking that simple catch, but she didn't take that catch. I'm not very sure that is the way to go, but that she might counter me by saying, I'm an aggressive captain, and that is why I tend to be like that, and I'm an instinctive person, but I didn't exactly agree with it. But fielding, I think, is a huge worry for the Indian women's team. And if you go back to 2016, when I was watching women's T20 World Cup, India's fielding was not good. That team was slightly different. But even if you look at the Asia Cup next year in 2017, or for the matter 2019-21, even when they went to Australia, they dropped some 4 or 5 catches in one of the games. And it has continued. It's like different players have come in, but somehow Indians keep dropping. Even recently against Australia, against England, when they played at home, they dropped catches. I don't know. Maybe they don't really want the ball to come to them. I don't want to say those words, but India's fielding is something that has to improve at some point of time. You can't do such basic errors, dropping 4 or 5 catches. That doesn't exactly look good.
And in the World Cup, it will hurt them most, Gagi. So if this happens in the World Cup right now, it still happened in the series. A lot of people still went after them. So if it happens in the World Cup wherein they're in a winning position, and if they drop sitters like Bharat has mentioned here, then it will be disastrous. So fielding definitely is a big weakness. And along with that heavy top order, I feel. Because after the top order, that middle order seems pretty poor.
Snehashish, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the same because the fielding needs to be improved, and we have seen that costing us the Asia Cup few months back. So I think the fielding needs to be improved, and especially I think I agree with Tishadi also that Harmanpreet Kaur needs to improve, his her field replacements also. I think the way she has managed to lead the team in the Asia Cup, especially, I think many fans raised question about her captaincy and asked for captaincy change also ahead of the World Cup. I think this is a huge tournament for her as a batter also and as a captain also. I think so she needs to step up her game, and I think the problem that we have in a team, I think the lack of power hitters. If you see Australia, if you see other teams like West Indies or England, there are so many power hitters. They can come and quickly manage 30-40 runs quickly, and that helps your team to get that 190-200 mark. And we all know that in women's cricket, if you manage to get that 190-200 mark, it's almost that you are going to win that game. It's very rare that the opposition team going to chase that down. It's very difficult. We have seen with every team, I'm saying. So I think India, if you see their batting lineup, whenever you see a team and the batting lineup, you can guess that how many runs this batting lineup can manage average time. So if you see this batting lineup, you will expecting like, okay, if they bat it really brilliantly, still they will manage, I think, 170, 175 maximum. I think that is the problem. I think at least if we can add more 10-15 runs with that average run 180, 190, I think that will win more matches to India if we would have more power hitters in the middle order especially.
Yes, Trisha.
Yeah, I think one aspect that we are not speaking about, and the 10-15 runs that Trish is saying would come out of that aspect, not power hitting, but running between the wicket. I think the place where we are least aggressive, we decide that every time it goes to the boundary fielder, it will be a single and we just walk to the other end. Apart from Harman, Jemima, I barely see intent from our batters to run more than a single. So, I think it's important that people have that intent. That is one place that we need to be extremely aggressive. And I think if Asia Cup was something to go by, it will be very important for Harman to really come back as a captain more than anything else, because in case we lose we lose at any point in the World Cup, that is, we end up short of anything other than the trophy, I am actually pretty skeptical that she'll continue as the captain. I don't think she has given too many people any reason to keep her the captain, to be honest. I mean, even with the bat, she's, I think, one of the most inconsistent batters. And she takes a lot of time nowadays. Considering it's Harmanpreet Kaur and she's supposed to be a power hitter, she's always counted among the power hitters. The other thing is, since Harman has become a captain, she does not bowl herself at all. Yes, there are injury concerns at times, but when she's fine, even then she doesn't bowl. I think one more point that I wanted the rest of you to discuss is, do you think we have enough spinners, enough competent spinners going in? Because that's one place which Bharat and I had discussed. So I'll start with Bharat. What do you think of spinners?
I'll just a point to what I said about Shobna. I feel another girl to watch out for again if India, because I know Harmanpreet Kaur has criticized her in the past, is Shayanka Patil, because I liked what I saw of her in the WPL with the ball in hand. She wasn't just bowling quicker through the air, but she was getting some revs on the ball while bowling quicker through the air. If she can maintain that kind of those two strengths, some revs on the ball and quicker through the air, Shayanka Patil also might really come into the equation in the World Cup, because she bowls stump to stump line, and again some of the batters like New Zealand's batters, some of the batters she might really do well in that World Cup. I think she's one other player to watch out for among spinners.
Yeah, I was going to mention Shayanka Patil as well, actually, Gargi. I think, I've seen a bit of her, and she's actually pretty, she can really trouble a lot of batters, in my opinion. So I think she might be a handful, and it's about utilizing her as well in the best way possible. And she's not, afraid to flight the ball, like again Bharat has mentioned. At times you want a spinner to be fearless, and I think she has that quality, which will be really beneficial. So overall, those spinners, in my opinion, yes, they probably aren't as strong as the pacers or the batters, but if they come good, if they're brave enough to turn the ball on those wickets, I think they might do some wonders for sure.
Just will add a point. I think she's occasionally flighting it is fine, but what I really liked about her bowling is she can bowl quicker through the air and get revs on the ball. So if someone gets a little bit of turn, so say for example, perhaps wouldn't bring men's cricket here, but Ravindra Jadeja, if you think about him in men's cricket, bowling at 94 kilometers per hour and getting 4.1 degrees of a so when those two strengths you combine, then it becomes really difficult. And Shayanka Patil is someone who gets just enough revs on the ball and can damp up her speeds when it comes to bowling. So in T20 cricket, if she's used well, then I think she would do well. I think she did well in the WPL as well. She has good T20 record. Maybe she took 13 or 14 wickets in the WPL. So she has been in form. Then yes, injury happened. She sustained an injury, but before that she was in really good form. So I think she's a bowler to look out for.
Yes, and I think we pretty much discussed everything that we could possibly discuss. And with that, we are at the end of our show. We've been very positive about our players, but we also, put a highlight on the harsh realities of the team as well. It is a little harsh, but it is reality nonetheless. But we will still be backing our women in blue and hope that we see the silverware come home this time. And thank you everyone for watching. Do also tell us your thoughts. What do you think are the strengths and weaknesses of the team? Leave us the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Revsportz. Thank you.